Alright, so I just took a look at the first 2 episodes of Alien Earth on FX. This is one of my most anticipated shows of the year, for sure. I talked about it in my most anticipated video at the beginning of the year. Was really, really looking forward to this one. I think the original Alien film is, I would say, a masterpiece, 5 out of 5. It's one of my favorite films of all time. Aliens, the second film with James Cameron directing, I thought is almost as good. Like, it's really, really close between those two. A really great film there. And I actually kind of like Alien 3, I think maybe more than others. But anyways, just some really great lore to be mined from the world, from, the whole xenomorph concept and everything like that from the original film. And so I was just really looking forward to this series, of course, and hearing like a name like Noah Hawley, involved with it. Great track record from him, in his TV work. So, Fargo, Legion, all kinds of other stuff that he's worked on. So really, really looking forward to this one, and I'm happy to say that I'm really impressed with what we've had so far here in the first 2 episodes. I'm going to start out with some of my, really positives and stuff I really want to, give praise to Holly and the show in general. And then a couple of criticisms, maybe just really one main one, and then kind of a minor one. And then I want to end off with just kind of my thoughts on how this connects to, the original film, Alien, and the second film, and the timelines of things here, and how they're going to piece things together. So, alright, so let's start off then with the great, or the positives here. So, the effects, the score, I thought the score was really great. I mean, to me, one of the best scores of all time is the original film by Jerry Goldsmith. It's just amazing. Like, it's haunting. It's even, builds the tension, really helps that. Helps also with kind of the, it's almost like a slasher, right? Parts of the original film, and so it helps with those kind of down times where you're just waiting for something to happen, and it adds that eeriness to it. So they do definitely adopt some of those tones, some of those, I want to say melodies probably, right, with this in the first couple episodes. So I thought score, I think it's Jeff Russo who's doing the composing, is amazing. Really, really great. I'm not a fan of the songs to, end the episodes of the end credits. I wish that they would just, stick with the score. That's really great. But anyway, so score, the effects, everything looks so good here for a show that's airing on FX, not an HBO or an Apple, especially Apple these days is really great for the sci-fi stuff, and they're doing really great here, with this show. It looks really, really awesome. And maybe that's also why it's taken a little bit more time than, I think the show is supposed to come out last year. So really great, really worth it if this is what it looks like. And then the acting, really great across the board. I think Sydney Chandler, there was some controversy with her a few weeks ago. They were doing press for the show. But that aside, I think she's really great in this. She really is. I saw her in Sugar last year, the beginning of last year, the show on Apple TV Plus with Colin Farrell. She had a small role in that, but she was really good. Some emotional, scenes that she had. And this, I think she's just really great, and a lot of the other actors too, I'm not sure their names, but the other ones who were playing, the what are they called? Hybrids, right? The other kids in adult bodies now. I thought they were all really great at just capturing that kind of childlike, behavior and reactions to things, even though, of course, they're adults and, in their adult bodies. And so I thought that line was really well done, and I think Sydney Chandler was the greatest example of that. I thought she was really great at that, and really charming, too. In these first couple episodes. Obviously, Timothy Olyphant was great. Love him in anything that he's in. He's Kirsch that he plays in this. And he actually had a bigger role in these first 2 episodes than I thought. I really thought he would just be kind of a distant, almost like cameo-like at times. But it looks like he has a very key role in the series. So that is amazing, amazing news. The actor who plays the boy genius, I really like his performance. So yeah, just all across the board. I think the acting is really great. I think the writing is really great. I really love what Noah Hawley has done here. We knew going into the show that he's sticking to the tech and just the overall look of the show, staying true to, the original film, Alien. Because that film was made in 79, right, a lot of the futuristic tech looks a lot different than modern day sci-fi shows that show, or movies, I guess, too, that show, futuristic tech, right? It's almost something like Fallout to me, right? Where in Fallout, we're like years ahead, right? The show on Amazon Prime, that came out last year is what I'm referring to. I haven't played the video games, but, the tech is so retro, right? And that's what kind of adds something to it. And this show, he's really sticking to that. He's sticking to the same tech and the same look of, even like I noticed the uniforms are very similar to Aliens, but they're like slightly downgraded, right? They're just slightly different because, this is, I think it's about 50 years before Aliens happens, right? So I just really love that he's really, paying homage to the original film. But I also really like this, and this is a thing that, is maybe a complaint or a criticism of these kind of, what do they call them? Requels, right? Or reboot, prequel, of existing IP in this thing. Sometimes you'll get a show that goes in a completely different direction, doesn't really respect the original material, or otherwise you would get a show that basically just does beat for beat what the original film did, or original films, right? And then you, like, what's the point of this, right? And I think this is the perfect middle ground of what we have so far in these first two episodes where, like I said, he's paying homage to the original film, but we're also getting new aliens in this, which is really, really sick. And it's not even the fact that, like, we're adding aliens and they're, like, kind of hokey and what, like, the designs, the models for these new aliens are still in the same vein as the xenomorph, right? With the egg, the one little arm coming down from the egg from the ceiling was really cool. We got the one that, bit the two guards, right? And then just like plumps up into this thing. And then we also have another kind of like spider looking thing. Reminded me of, the monster from The Thing, right? John Carpenter's The Thing. A little bit there with the tentacles and everything. So just really great stuff. We're getting new aliens. We're getting some new lore, with Prodigy and Yutani and the competitiveness there with the industry. So yeah, everything new that he's added is still with respect to the original films, and he's still really sticking to that. So I have to give so much credit there. I think that's just really, really great the way that he's, decided to approach this story for sure. And I did hear that Ridley Scott did consult on it. I'm not sure how much he actually, really did, but maybe that is part of this. Maybe Ridley Scott did help him out with some of the designs and some of the stuff from the original film, of course. So anyways, I think that'll basically do it for all the positives. I really like a lot of that stuff. Some really great tension, horror, the gore also really great through these first two episodes. The xenomorph looks really sick. There's some really great moments with that. So really, really great stuff. All right, so then let's move to a couple of the criticisms. The main one here is just the character so far in these first two episodes. So I've said the acting is really great, but I don't really quite feel a connection to these characters. I guess maybe Wendy with Sydney Chandler's character, but there is a bit of a difficulty there because of the nature of her character. She's a hybrid, right? And she doesn't have feelings and emotions, and so, or at least not to the same level as humans, right? And so that makes it a little harder to connect to that character, maybe. I did buy into, I guess, the relationship between her and her brother, but it did kind of seem like, okay, this is what they're building up to. It's her finding her brother. But then the fact that, they meet in the second episode and he, realizes her secret, that it is her. It's Marcy, right, in now the hybrid body. It does kind of take away from that. I would have liked to see more time develop between that relationship with them and really connecting with them. So then by the time they actually do meet and we pay that off, it really feels like a, catharsis. It really feels like a release when we get that moment. Whereas this, it did feel maybe a little quick where we got into that. And yeah, just the other kid characters, I don't know. The dynamic there isn't quite there to me. I thought that Kirsch and Wendy, that chemistry was pretty good with Oliphant and Sydney Chandler, but I don't know. I just wanted some more, character work here a little bit, to, get me connected. Even like the soldiers with the search and rescue team, okay, right? Like it was just kind of decent. Whereas, a film like Alien, I mean, within like 5 to 10 minutes of meeting these characters, we know who each of them is. We know the dynamics of the group. We see that chemistry. And Aliens is even a better example of that. I mean, like, James Cameron is so good with that, with, Avatar, The Abyss, Aliens as well, in developing that relationship, the chemistry, the group dynamics, just, like, almost immediately you know these characters, and you care about some of them immediately. Whereas this, like, I don't really know a lot of their names, right? Like, and so I think that's a little bit of a problem so far. And that also leads me into the other kind of criticism I was gonna bring up here, is that what is the story here? Like the plot does seem very quick right now. Like the pacing is just so quick, and I think this is the main reason why we're not seeing as much of the character work, because it seems like we just went really kind of quick into things. And I really did like the pacing, actually, the first episode, where we didn't, it wasn't just another Alien film where we saw the xenomorph somehow break through and then the chest burster, and then, I liked that Noah Hawley respected us and said, okay, you guys have seen this before, we're not just going to do the same thing over and over again. I really like that, but it did, really, the pace was very quick in those first, 2 episodes too. So maybe that's, part of this. Maybe, more, character work could have been done if the pacing wasn't so fast. And then also just the story to me felt a little odd. Like it, so far at least, just these first 2 episodes, it feels almost like this is a movie that's just being split into, episodes. The way that this plot is going, like the first episode almost like exactly picks up in the next scene or the same scene really in the second episode. It very much ends with a cliffhanger, and then the episode 2 ends very much the same way. It ends like right in the middle of a scene, and then the third episode, I would guess, is going to pick up right where we left off. And so to me, it just felt a little odd that way. I was like, oh, okay, I mean, these first 2 episodes were released at the same time. Okay, fair, right? That makes sense that you would end off episode 1 in that way. But episode 3 comes out in a week, and episode 2 was still ended in that same way. So I'm just wondering, what is the overall plot here? I get that, Yutani and Prodigy are going to be going at each other and this stuff, but to me, like, it very much seems like, okay, the spaceship crashed, they're exploring the spaceship, and, Wendy's got to rescue her brother that, keeps getting wrapped up into things with the xenomorphs and gets put in danger. But what else is there? Like, it doesn't seem like there's a big kind of broad scale story so far of, okay, this is the end point, this is what we're building to, and we don't quite have that yet. So anyways, still really cool though. I mean, I think it still could work even if you don't do that, because of the tension, the horror, and Noah Hawley's been doing such a great job at that so far, that it's still intriguing and I still want to watch it. But I do wonder if, maybe we can see some, broader story points, building, and then maybe some more character work to develop these characters. So anyways, those just be my couple criticisms so far. And then I just wanted to end off with, basically, I just still have questions, so far. And going into the show, I had these questions, and I don't think they've really been answered anymore, after these first 2 episodes. But it's basically just, how does this fit? How does this fit in the overall story? I believe this takes place about 2 years prior to the original film, Alien, right? And it's like a few years after Prometheus and Alien Covenant, right? So I think it's okay, right? If this happened on Earth, if these aliens are discovered, it makes sense still for the original film because, again, it's, another Yutani research vessel, which I really love how Hawley's playing on that, how this is just another research vessel that was out. So really connecting to that original film. And they were also in cryo sleep, right? So, maybe the message didn't reach them. They didn't know about the aliens yet. Or Yutani was just lying to them, obviously, right? They knew about the aliens that happened, a couple years prior, and they just never told them. But it becomes an issue when you get to the second film, Aliens, because that's almost, I think, 50 years, I read, after this series that it takes place. And, okay, like Paul Reiser's character probably knows about the aliens and he's hiding it. But how do none of the soldiers, that go to this colony know about it? How do none of the colonizers know about it? So yeah, it just kind of raised some questions of how this event that happens in the first couple episodes, how it doesn't get out, how it doesn't spread to other people, or the soldiers that are going to be in the second movie, and even Alien 3, the third film. So anyways, that would just be my question. I'm sure that Hawley is going to answer that, and I'm sure he has planned that out, obviously. And so we'll have to see, where that goes, going forward in the rest of the show. But anyways, that'll do it for my initial thoughts on the first couple episodes here. Really impressed overall, just a couple of criticisms there, but really looking forward to the rest of this series here, the first season. They have said that they'll probably do multiple seasons, so really looking forward to the rest of this one. So thank you guys so much for watching this one. Definitely let me know your thoughts on what you thought of the first couple episodes here for sure, and leave a like and consider subscribing to the channel as well. Would really appreciate that. But anyways, that'll do it for me, so thank you guys so much for watching, and we'll see you then in my next review.